let's talk about niche fragrances.
I recently did a video with Grace. If you missed that, you can watch it up here. And basically what I had her do was blindly sniff and rate 11 what I call overhyped or hype beast fragrances, some of the most popular fragrances on the market, and the ones that basically make it into every top 10 fragrance video on YouTube. And it was a mixed bag in terms of source. Some of the fragrances came from designer brands, most of them actually, and a few of them came from what are known as niche fragrance brands, brands like Parfum de Marly and Creed and Bon No. 9 and Mancera. In that video, I made an assertion that those brands, to some degree or another, they're not all on the same plane here, are not the most niche brands. They're not the most representative of what niche perfumery can be. The line has been blurred between what is designer, what is niche, and even those terms are so open-ended and kind of broad, and we don't need to go into that. That's another video. This topic was actually suggested by Kenneth Royster, so Kenneth, thank you for leaving the comment and making the suggestion. So I'm happy to do it. Now really quickly, here's my reasoning why I don't believe these brands are niche brands and why I believe they are instead luxury brands. Let's look at this fragrance here. Parfum de Marly Layton, one of the most popular niche fragrances that is suggested as a starter fragrance or as an introduction into niche perfumery. One of the biggest reasons this thing is so highly touted is its likability, its appealing factor. The fact that it smells great to a lot of people and that it performs well generally and that it has the ability to pull you some compliments in the right situation. That is why this thing is so highly sought after. And it being called niche mainly because of the presentation it comes in, which is very unique and feels very high quality, and as well as the price tag that you pay to get this into your collection. You feel like you're really getting something of high quality. You're elevating your fragrance game to the next level, and you're able to pull compliments with a higher level fragrance. But what is truly the difference between something like this and something like this? Acqua di Gio Profumo, another very highly sought and highly regarded designer fragrance in the market, especially here on YouTube, for its likability, for its strength, and all the things you want checked off to have a mass appealing fragrance. It's all here. What's the difference between these two fragrances? Well, obviously they don't smell the same. They have very distinct scent profiles, but still very likable in their own ways. But the main difference is the price. Obviously you're gonna find this a lot cheaper than this. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that these brands that I've highlighted, these niche brands, what I'm calling luxury brands, it's not the same across the board. As I said, some fragrances that these brands put out are what I consider actually to be niche, relatively high quality, unique scent profiles, fragrances that are not trying to appeal to everyone. Fragrances like Byerly and Nissin, those are fragrances you don't see a lot of talk about because they are absolutely not mass appealing. That is niche perfumery right there. Specific audience, high quality stuff, distinct scent profiles, things to make you stand out from the crowd. But we have others here. We have Sedley, we have Percival. These are other mass appealing scents that you find from Parfum de Marly. And essentially what you're doing is you're paying a premium to get a mass appealing fragrance. Now, do you have to pay this much money to smell great and get compliments? Well, as I was alluding to earlier with Acqua di Gio, no. Even a fragrance like this from Coach Platinum, you can find this fragrance for well under $50. Great smelling scent, decent performance, mass appealing, will definitely get you compliments in the right scenario. This can probably do the same thing. This is Scent of Peace for Him from Bon No. 9. This retails for $400. You can generally find it for in the $200 range, maybe a little bit less depending on where you get it and depending on the size. But they're generally going to get you the same result. If you're looking for compliments, if you're looking for mass appeal, you might as well get a designer fragrance. Stick to designer. If you want to get compliments with your fragrance, if that is your sole purpose, stick with designer fragrances. However, the one exception to that, I would recommend getting this only if you absolutely love the fragrance. If you absolutely love this niche fragrance that is very mass appealing, that does what designer fragrances do, if you are in love with the scent profile, if you are going to be by yourself for an entire week, completely alone, and you could only choose one fragrance and this is the one you would wear, then you can tell me to shut up. You really love that fragrance, obviously, and you should totally wear it, totally get it. it's worth the money at that point. But if it's only to get compliments, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Stick with designer. If you don't even love the smell, stick with designer. Save some money. In Kenneth's question, he asked me, well, what are some fragrances that I would suggest that are actually niche to me? What is niche? I've broken it down a little bit loosely over the course of the video so far, but as I've said, we're talking about high quality materials. We're talking about decidedly different scent profiles, stuff that is not like everything else out there. These fragrances are not created to appeal to as many people as possible, so they're not a mishmash of every appealing element that you can put in a fragrance all together. They are still going to be a little bit expensive because you're generally getting what you pay for. And just to keep it as congruent as possible, I'm talking about brands from which you can get their fragrances for $200 or less. Most of these are less than $200, so they do compare to the prices you can get stuff like this for. They all perform quite well, and I've chosen ones that are pretty versatile. These fragrances can function as daily wears. They can function as your everyday scent. That's what makes fragrances like these so appealing, because they are versatile. You can wear them anywhere, anytime. But again, as I said, you don't have to spend that money to do that. You can do that with designer fragrances that are half the price. Anyway, let's talk about these 10 brands. This is from Dasein, and they have a winter collection. Now, these fragrances are very easy to wear, but they are quite different. The materials that come together to create them are very olfactive, realistic, if that's a word. Winter literally smells like you're out in the forest on a cool, crisp morning. You can smell the wood. You can smell like pine. It's kind of coniferous in a way. It's spicy. It's very fresh and spicy, lots of cardamom. This can function as a signature scent if you like it. It's super easy to wear, and it's actually quite likable because it's so fresh and invigorating, but not in your average way. It's mostly coniferous and fresh woods with a lot of fresh spices. Really nice stuff. They also have winter green, which is very, very minty, invigorating mint. This is mint forward. This is a mint personality. If you like mint, which is extremely fresh and ironically may not be quite as versatile as this because you don't want to smell like mint all the time, but if you do, this is a great way to do it. Again, you're going to find these under $200. They're going to perform more than decently, and they're going to be a little different, but still versatile. From Gallagher Fragrances, he's actually upgraded his presentation since I got this bottle. This is called Eau Verte. Beautiful, kind of sea salty, woody green with a little bit of fruitiness in there. It's very green and almost grassy and earthy and woody, but with a nice, almost like sea breeze kind of vibe to it. You can find, I think, a 50 ml bottle for $115 on his website, but I recommend getting samples, which are easy to find. It's very easy to wear, but different. Check it out. Now, from Sean Crenshaw, we have Ovation for Men. This is a black-owned brand. I've talked about them in the past. This is a beautiful combination of elements that are difficult to balance. Familiar, but unique. Its familiarity actually makes it quite appealing. It is fresh and spicy. It is warm and sweet and kind of ambery, a little bit of tobacco in there perhaps. But it comes off as not quite like anything else you've smelled before. It comes together in a super easy to wear way. You can wear it in any situation. It smells very handsome, pretty elegant, I would say. Easy to wear, great performance out of this thing too. This has gotten me actually a lot of compliments. And you're gonna find this thing for, I'm pretty sure, under $100. I'm gonna have them linked down below. I talk about this one all the time. Granted, this is not everyone's cup of tea. It is a little bit different, but it's also a little bit familiar, similar to the Sean Crenshaw. This is called Ganymede, coming from Marc-Antoine Barrois. And this is a different type of fresh fragrance that you can wear anywhere because it does have great performance. This is more of a metallic, minerally suede like fresh fragrance. Not a ton of sweetness here at all, really. Violet leaf is pretty prominent. You have these mineral / metallic notes in here as well. And it's kind of like a soft, supple suede leather. Really beautiful stuff. Very, very versatile for being quite different. And again, great performance. Check it out. Let's talk about some brands that maybe you've already heard of. And you're gonna find some of these for the same price as you'd find your Bond No. 9 and your Parfum de Marly, even discounted. Amouage. This is Enclave. Now granted, Amouage doesn't always have the most easy to wear fragrances. I would say that their easiest grab would be Reflection Man, but that thing is talked to death. Let's change it up. We've been talking about the same fragrances in this community since I have been a part of it. We're talking about 5 years now and more. And you see the same ones. And not to say that they're bad fragrances or that they've gotten old, but there's new stuff coming out all the time, new really great stuff from even the same brands. So Enclave, I'm talking about this one instead of Reflection Man. This is mint. It's cold and hot at the same time. You do have a lot of mint, very refreshing and cooling, maybe some cardamom in there. You also have a little bit of labdanum, which is this kind of sticky, sweet, almost leathery, smoky aspect to it. So you have a beautiful duality of bright and dark. It has great performance. It smells handsome, but also it can be casual as well. I think it's quite versatile, and it's gonna get you compliments as long as you wear it with confidence. That is Amouage Enclave. One of the most easy to wear fragrances from Nichane has to be B612. This is essentially a fougere, but it's a modern fougere. Fougères can often be associated with older style scents, more old school for more mature and older people. Very mossy and woody. They kind of smell maybe reminiscent of like a barbershop, like shaving foam. They're very clean, but they can be spicy and leathery, and all kinds of elements can be in them. But this one is very, very clean, very round and smooth around the edges, a little bit creamy. This has cypress, so that is a green kind of woody component in here mixed with some cashmere wood, which brings a warm, cozy feeling to the scent with some nice aromatic lavender, so it is quite fresh. Beautiful stuff for being so simple, fantastic quality, and again, you can find this under 200 bucks. Discounted. I'm gonna have links down below where you can check everything out. All right, let's do a couple doubles. We're talking about the House of Zaharoff. They have the signature Pour Homme. This is literally in the name, signature. It is intended to be a signature scent. This is also a fougere, also a very modern one. This brings in some elements that you don't typically see in a fougere, like fruits and oud and lots of sandalwood and things like that. So it has a creaminess to it. It has a fresh quality, lots of lavender in here, but it's a little bit different and elegant, and it wears very well on the skin, lots of integrity, so it will stick around a good while. But not everyone loves a fougere. If you're not crazy about fougere, then they do have one of the Flankers signature Royale. This came out not long after, and this is kind of a brighter, almost fruitier, more playful take on the original. You have apple in here. You also have a lot of magnolia, if I'm not mistaken, which brings this bright, almost kind of waxy, fresh floral quality, but it's also quite fluffy. There's a fluffy, almost cottony feeling to this sweet, creamy, kind of handsome scent that is quite versatile, but it's also quite different. Nothing smells quite like this.
That's a lot of quiet.
This is Zaharoff. Check them out if you haven't already. I got a link and a discount down below. Let's talk about one of our fellow YouTubers, Dan Naughton, aka Mr. Smelly 1977. He has a phenomenal brand that he calls Naughton and Wilson, and we have his two releases so far. We have Gravitas Pour Homme and we have Bon Vivre. Both of these are wonderful. They both kind of have a mature appeal to them, but they're so easy to wear. This one's probably a little bit easier to wear, Bon Vivre. It's more of a fresh, almost gin with fruity watermelon and citruses, and it's just a very lively scent. Gravitas is a fougere. It is more hefty, it is more dense to the core, it is creamy, it is mossy and woody and citrusy and bright, but it has a sweet kind of warmth to it that is incredible, especially as it leaves a trail. Very powerful stuff. Both of these are great. You can find them both, again, under 200 bucks. Let's talk about the House of Jovoy. Now, admittedly, Jovoy doesn't have a lot of the most easy to wear fragrances. They actually have a lot of quite dark, but very interesting and beautiful fragrances that I love. This is the easiest one to wear that I've come across so far. This is called L'Art de la Guerre, which is the art of war. This is a rhubarb-based fragrance, which you don't see a ton of. There's a juicy, mouth-watering tartness to the scent, mixed with a lot of green freshness and oak moss. So it's quite mossy and woody as it dries down, but you do have this almost tart fruitiness that's kind of sharp and almost a little bit bitter and piercing, but it makes it so it's beautiful in the air, especially in the heat. Quite a robust scent. Not the strongest one compared to the others in the brand, but still gonna have some great longevity on your skin. It does smell a little bit more refined, perhaps a little bit more mature than others, but still something that's very versatile and easy to wear pretty much any day, anytime, if you want people to take you seriously. And the final brand I want to talk about that has a lot of great offerings is 8 Bob. I have 2 of them here. There's others that are also wonderful that are worth looking into. I recommend getting their discovery set. I have the original 8 Bob, the Eau de Parfum, and this is Egypt. Out of the 2, Egypt is my favorite one. This is kind of a spicy, warm fougere. There's a freshness to it, almost lavender-like, but you get almost this like cinnamon-like warm but resinous sweetness that's a little bit dry and arid. Something very, very handsome and almost sexy about it, but in a more dressed up kind of way. But this is not quite as versatile as the original 8 Bob, which is almost like a citrus aromatic, but with a warm, creamy vanilla and ambergris kind of feel. There's a muskiness in here that's very, very warm and alluring, but it is fresh enough to be, again, daily wear. You can dress it up. You can also wear it casually. It's going to work just fine. I wouldn't say this is the strongest performing. It is an eau de parfum. It's going to stick on the skin a while, but not the longest. It's not going to grab people and be a complete beast monster of a fragrance. A lot of the ones on this list that I've talked about already are going to do that much more than this, but this is a little bit more understated, more handsome, and although it is a pretty standard profile, it also doesn't smell quite like anything else I've tried. And again, you can find these for a decent price. Gonna have links down below to everything. All right, that's gonna do it for me. I would love to know what you think of this idea. I know this is quite a claim to make, saying that these brands who you see across YouTube being referred to as niche fragrance brands are not in fact niche fragrance brands. They are luxury fragrance brands. You pay the premium to get the product, but the product by itself is not all that different from products you can buy for half the price because of the function. They're functioning to be mass appealing, and you don't have to pay that much money to do that. So let me know what you think of this idea. It is kind of a hot take, but I want to open up the discussion. These are just my opinions. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.